depression is a disease. It's a mental disorder that is it's a mood disorder. It's a mood disease, but it is very highly treatable. So you do not have to suffer, this disease because you feel like you cannot get help. So it is highly treatable. A lot of people, actually 80 to 90% of the people who suffer depression, when they seek help, they are treated and they really get they improve, their lives improve with treatment, the right treatment. So it's a disease, it's a mental disorder that is a mood disorder, but it is highly treatable. Welcome to Regenerate, where we focus on mental and emotional well-being as well as personal improvement. My name is Regina, and today I would like us to look at depression. And the reason why we are looking at depression today is because a lot of people suffer from it. And a lot of times, those around them, the family, the loved ones, friends, colleagues, may not have the tools to be able to help them. And one of the reasons why depression is crippling is because it saps off the energy that is needed, that a person needs to be able to get help. And so today we are going to look at what is it? What is depression? What does it do to you as a person? How can you get help? One of the things I want to say from the outset is that depression is a disease. It's a mental disorder that is it's a mood disorder. It's a mood disease, but it is very highly treatable. So you do not have to suffer, this disease because you feel like you cannot get help. So it is highly treatable. A lot of people, actually 80 to 90% of the people who suffer depression, when they seek help, they are treated and they really get, they improve, their lives improve with treatment, the right treatment. So it's a disease, it's a mental disorder that is a mood disorder, but it is highly treatable. So depression is very common, but it is highly treatable. So that is important to take note of so that you don't feel like it's something that's very unusual or uncommon. It is common. A lot of people suffer it, but it is also very highly treatable. With proper diagnosis, a lot of people get, with proper diagnosis and proper treatment, a lot of people improve and, overcome it. But what is depression? It is also referred to a major depressive disorder, which is a mood disorder or clinical depression. So you will hear some of those words or names used for it. It is a mental condition, and it's characterized by some of the following. One, feelings of hopelessness, feelings of sadness, a lack of interest in a lot of things that may have, been of interest to you before, a lot of, isolation sometimes, very low mood. All these are some of the emotions that characterize depression. And it is, these conditions continue for a while. It's not a one day off, feeling. A few facts about depression. Nobody is immune to depression. It can get to anyone. It is a disease that anyone can suffer regardless of your ideal, regardless of how your life is. It is a respecter of no person. It is not a respecter of persons. So it can attack any one of us. Depression is suffered by 1 in every 6 people. So 1 in 6 people is likely to suffer depression in their lifetime. Those are facts. More women are prone to suffer depression than men. And then a lot of people suffering from depression are between 18 and 25 years old, as opposed to people who are over 60, for instance. Depression also, a lot of times it occurs together with other diseases like diabetes or, diseases of the, diabetes or chronic illnesses that usually accompanies depression. So it is a condition that is also, that is accompanied a lot of times, not always, accompanied by other medical conditions. And also conditions, psychological conditions like anxiety or substance abuse. So it can come alone, but it can also accompany other diseases. What are some of the signs and symptoms of depression? Feelings of sadness, like we mentioned, sickness, feelings of sadness, emptiness, or hopelessness. Like you feel you are hopeless. Your situation is hopeless. Nothing can change it. A feeling of tiredness, lack of energy. You just feel like all energy has been sapped out of you. Loss of interest in a lot of stuff around you, a lot of activities, a lot of things that probably would, you would have interest in, or even a lack of interest in normal everyday activities, irritability or feelings of frustrations, anxiety, agitation, restlessness, just feeling you're restless, disturbances in sleep, either sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Sleeping too much in the sense that you may sleep for so many hours, and by the time you get up, you still feel sleepy and tired. So changes in sleep patterns, also changes in appetite, your appetite. Either there are people who eat too much, there are people who hardly eat. So if you notice changes in your appetite, that can be a sign or a symptom of depression. Feelings of worthlessness and sometimes guilt, that can also be, or especially when you feel you have thoughts of past failures, regrets, those kind of feelings, or blame or self-blame, like you keep blaming yourself. You look back and you see things that went wrong and you keep blaming yourself. That also accompanies depression. If you have trouble thinking, concentrating, or making decisions, and remembering things also. So if you have also memory issues, that can be a sign of depression. Unexplained physical problems such as back pains or headaches or digestive issues that don't seem to have a specific physical cause. So you get headaches, you get, digestive issues, but when you go for checkup, your doctor can't find anything. So those may be symptoms or signs of depression. In some cases, a person may have recurrent thoughts of death, thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, or even suicidal attempts or actual suicide. Those are also signs and symptoms of depression. Suicidal thoughts, thinking of death, sometimes attempting suicide, or actually succeeding in suicide. Now, all the feelings we've mentioned, can be mild, they can be moderate, and they can be severe. So, just because you have mild, those feelings are there, but they're mild, doesn't mean you don't have depression. You just have it in a milder version of it. But it can be mild, moderate, or depression. And the treatment of it will depend on whether it's mild, moderate, or depression. Your mental health provider will be able to, make an assessment and decide, is this just going to be treated as, psychotherapy, or do you need medication? Do you need both? And that kind of thing. So what are some of the risk factors of depression? One, depression can be caused by a variety of things, or a combination of factors. One, genetics. There are some families that have that you will notice that there are some families that suffer depression, like several members of the family suffer depression. It runs in their family. It may be, something related to their genes. So genetics play a role. Personality play a role. There's some personalities that are more likely to suffer depression than others. If you have a personality of worrying a lot, low self-esteem, your personality, kind of makes you a person who worries a lot or have low self-esteem, you're more likely to suffer depression than someone who is more easygoing, more positive, more optimistic, and that kind of thing. So personality also can play a role. Biochemistry, there are some people you know, who have imbalances in their brain chemicals, which they are called neurotransmitters, and these chemicals regulate the mood. If there is an imbalance in that, there are some people who may suffer depression as a result of that. Life experiences. There are some people who will suffer depression because of life experiences that they go through, and such life experiences as tragic occurrences, like losses, like even things like loss of job. You lose your job, or your business fails, collapses. Those are some of the life experiences that can cause, and that do cause some people to suffer depression. Trauma is another thing that can cause depression. And trauma, when you're talking about trauma, is if someone is exposed to trauma, and especially if it is really intense trauma, like abuse, or things like poverty, extreme poverty, neglect, violence. These are some of the traumatic experiences that can cause people to suffer depression. Substance abuse. There are some people who will suffer depression because they have engaged in substances that cause imbalances in themselves. They get into situations where they are not able to to live a normal everyday life. When we talk about substance abuse, we're talking about drugs, but also alcohol. So there are some people who may suffer depression as a result of this kind of abuse. There are some health conditions that can cause people to suffer depression, like chronic illnesses, chronic sicknesses that someone may suffer, like cancer or chronic pain, or things that that they go through physically that causes them to lose hope. There's maybe pain a lot all the time, and they may also lose their jobs as a result. Sometimes even lose family members who may just decide to leave. So sometimes health conditions will cause depression. And then there's also some medication that you may be suffering from a certain different illness, but the medication you get causes you to to suffer depression. So these are some of the things. These are some of the factors that may cause depression in different individuals. Now, there are some people who suffer depression, but they don't seek help, or they don't want to talk about it, or they hide it. There are some people who hide the fact that they are having depression, or they are suffering depression. Why?